I am Natinahue. I come from Natinahue, Natinak, which is the Hoopa Valley, located in the remote mountains of Northern California. Well, let me tell you how my people came to be. According to our beliefs, the animals were created first, and they were the ones that Creator Yumachichunye, the one who's above us, created them with the intention that they would prepare this earth for us and teach us the things that we needed to know, prepare the way for humans. That was at a time when the animals could talk and could engage with each other and learn to do all sorts of different things to prepare the world. Frog was the first one to announce to everyone, the humans are coming. He felt it. He felt it in the coolness of spring, in the wet grass where he was sitting. He felt it and he started singing, the humans are coming. Deer was excited. Bear was excited. The eagles were excited. All of the animals were excited that humans would finally be coming. They're the ones who helped humans discover who they were and how they would live. The next morning, as they woke up, they could see that the mist was fingering down through the tops of the mountains, down through the trees. The sun was shining on it. They knew that the humans would be. Once the mist touched the ground, the humans were formed. Humans came out of the mist. Fish promised that, along with other animals, that he would be willing to give up his life so that humans could thrive and survive. The acorn tree promised to always provide us with a bounty of acorns so that we could survive. The humans are coming. We were very fortunate that white contact happened much later than, let's say, Southern California. Contact for us began like about 1840. So it was much, much later that the soldiers came here to our reservation. Now we're on a reservation which has legally defined boundaries as set aside from the United States government, which doesn't encompass all of our ancestral territories, but we have to live within those boundaries. We're 12 by 12 square. We have over 120 some thousand acres. We are talking about 2,500 to 3,000 people who live in the valley. There's one highway that goes in and out of the reservation. We're the largest reservation in California. This is where I grew up. This is where I learned to hunt, fish, gather, do all of my traditional activities. We are a tribe who has the Trinity River, which is one of the last wild and scenic rivers that runs through the reservation. At its head, it was dammed, the Lewiston Dam. Its water's controlled by the Bureau of Reclamation. So both the Hoopa tribe and the Yurok tribe, which is a neighboring tribe that's technically downriver but north of our reservation, rely on Trinity River fish. In 2002, there was a huge fish kill as a result of low water, high temperatures, dead bodies washing up on shores.
A report by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service found that the kill resulted from water diversions to Klamath Basin by farmers and ranchers during a drought year. The report found that the atypical low flow in the river, along with high fish return numbers and high water temperatures, allowed for a gill rot disease to kill at least 33,000 salmon in September 2002 before they could reproduce. The die-off was downstream of the Trinity inflow, and the salmon of the Trinity were impacted to a greater degree than the Klamath as the Trinity run was at its peak. The report does mention that the official die-off estimate of 34,056 is probably quite low and could be only half of the actual loss. In September 1908, prior to irrigation, the flow of the Klamath River measured 800 cubic feet per second compared to 475 cubic feet per second in 2002. These lower water flows were decided on against the suggestions of higher water flows biologists had said would be needed to keep the fish safe from a die-off.
Not every family fishes, only the families from the villages fish. And when the families fish, they share the fish. I grew up at a time when you could catch 20, 30 fish in a week. Today, we are lucky to get 3 to 4 fish in a week. This was a direct result of federal actions. Our traditional values that we have, the values of generosity, the values of sharing, caring, were becoming impacted by the lack of fish. At our ceremonies, everyone is fed, whether it's 100 people or 500 people. We have to have enough food to feed them during our ceremonies. It impacted our culture, it impacted our traditions, it impacted our values. It was the most devastating event in our tribal history. And that just impacts who we are as a tribe that relies on fishing. The people went and protested at the state capitol and dumped a dump truck load of fish on the Capitol steps as a monument to protest that our lifeway was being truly impacted in a way that we were unprepared to respond to. Then you move forward to the additional impacts that we've been experiencing through climate change. I've always been very proud of the fact that I know where the paternal line of my family has been for thousands of years. And when you have that kind of connection to the land and the space, it's hard to leave. The Meekerm fire was probably one of the most devastating fires that we had experienced to date. The Meekerm fire was before the fish kill. We've had one massive fire after another. It burned portions of our reservation, but didn't destroy homes because the reservation is a valley surrounded by mountains that are 3,000 feet above sea level. So it creates an inversion layer in the way the smoke impacts. The smoke was so heavy that you were lucky if you could see your hand in front of your face. The smoke was so bad at that time that if you're allergic to poison oak, just standing outside, you would get poison oak from the smoke itself. Most of the community was evacuated, but many of the elders did not want to leave their homes. Their homes weren't in any fire danger. The problem was that the air quality was just extremely poor. My mom had dementia. My dad was 47 when he had a massive heart attack and stroke that left the whole right side of his body paralyzed with aphasia, so he was unable to speak. He's also a diabetic and he had an ulcer on his foot. His house is, of course, equipped for his disability, his bathroom, his shower, everything that he's comfortable with. He didn't want to leave. And then when you have a parent who is suffering with the beginning stages of dementia, they're uncomfortable with leaving. So family stayed and took care of them. And then in 2022, we had something called the Yeti fire. Again, the air quality was very bad. The Yeti fire was another one that wasn't on the reservation, but all the smoke came to the reservation. By this time, my mom had passed away and my dad wanted to stay at home. They were trying to evacuate people, but of course he wants to stay in home. That's where he's comfortable. His walking is much more impacted by this time. He's used to walking 10 feet, sitting down, walking 10 feet, sitting down. We knew that the smoke was really bad in the house because it went all the way down mid-level inside the house that you could see the smoke. During this time, I'm still recovering. I was hit by a drunk driver. I was in a wheelchair for many years and had a walker for many years. Now you're in a situation where you have two people who are disabled trying to care for each other. When you have people who are disabled, that's just what happens. But my dad's breathing became so difficult for him. He thought he was having a heart attack. So he indicated that he needed to go to the emergency room. We took him to the emergency room, and he, of course, was not having a heart attack. He was just impacted by the smoke. And so they said, "Do you have a HEPA filter?" Like, yeah, we have 6. Each room in our house, the kitchen, the living room, the dining area, the bedrooms, the bathroom, all of them had a HEPA filter in them. Well, we ended up getting a 7th HEPA filter to specifically just sit alongside of him. We came home back to the house that we were actually supposed to evacuate from, but couldn't evacuate from, because when you have somebody who's disabled, they are just more comfortable in familiar surroundings. There are so many factors out there that create issues for a disabled person to feel comfortable, even if it's required evacuation for health reasons, not necessarily that the house was going to burn down, but that the air quality was so bad. If you're disabled, hotels only have a certain amount of disabled rooms. You're not guaranteed that you'll get the disabled room. If you're in a walker and somebody's in a wheelchair, you would rather the person in the wheelchair have that room. They want to be in their home where they feel comfortable using the bathroom, where they know where their shower is. My mom would get mad at him, but my dad's like, "This is where I'm going to be. I'm going to be buried here." We don't just pick up and move because we know where we've been for over 10,000 years. Home is home.